I'm sure you've noticed the posters on either side here. And if you look at the pictures and the photographs of the individuals there, you may not believe this, but it could be somebody you know. It could be somebody down the street from you. It could be somebody who may be distantly or closely related to you. But there's a face of human trafficking, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere in Michigan and outside the boundaries of Michigan. And the reason we're here is because we will be reintroducing tomorrow, to further combat human trafficking, bills that make it a specific crime to solicit 16 and 17-year-olds for prostitution and to increase those penalties. This was a gap in the legislation from previous years, and we want to close that gap and make sure that the criminals who deal with this kind of behavior will know that we're very serious about dealing with them here in Michigan. I'm committed to joining in the fight against human trafficking, and I'll be working with my fellow colleagues to form a larger bill package to take a microscope to the current legislation that is in place and to fix all the spots that are weak and need shoring up. I expect our work at the Michigan legislature to send a message to the rest of the nation that Michigan does not ignore horrific crimes against children and others. And as the chair of the Senate Families, Children, and Human Resources Committee, I've personally made it my mission to further explore the issue. And since introducing this legislation last session, I've become engaged with national organizations and have been asked to further extend our laws into fighting human trafficking. It's astounding to learn that human trafficking crimes happen in our own backyard. And when you speak with people in the district and outside the district around the state, they assume that this is not a domestic issue, but a foreign issue. Unfortunately, it happens right here. This is a book written by Teresa Flores, I believe it was published in 2010, and it tells the story of her situation and how she was treated and how she managed to recover and escape human trafficking right here in Southeast Michigan. These are important stories, and the victims are very reluctant to come forward, and we're just grateful that the light is finally beginning to shine on the issues that we're dealing with. The blue ribbons that we have, and some of you may see some of us wearing these today, these are to symbolize our passion for bringing human trafficking to the front burner and to give hope to those currently being held as slaves and human trafficking victims. When we become aware, we can educate, and then we can educate others. We expose the exploitation of our children, and hopefully we'll save many lives. The average life expectancy, and this is a very telling statistic, the average life expectancy of a child prostitute is 7 years beyond the year when they are first being coerced to participate. This should alarm every single one of us. I'm working on spreading awareness by designing a Human Trafficking 101 course, Know the Signs brochure, for our locals to distribute the information to our communities about what to look for as potential trafficking victims. This brochure will explain the different forms of trafficking, visual indicators of trafficking, health signs of a victim, signs that a person is being held as a slave, potential areas for trafficking, and how to get involved in the fight against trafficking. I'm also planning to host educational events in the spring to gather information from experts and advocacy groups to advance solutions and to promote awareness. And I also applaud our Michigan Attorney General, Bill Schuette, in his creation of the Human Trafficking Unit within the Attorney General's office. This unit is in the process of securing convictions, and they've had some success, and hopefully they'll have greater success in the future. Michigan's had the chance to lead the nation in abolishing modern-day slavery, and in discussion with national groups, I've seen that interstate human trafficking is a massive and growing issue for the Midwest. We have cases of traffickers prostituting minors to our Michigan truck stops and over Toledo. And unfortunately, recently, Toledo was ranked number 4 in the U.S. for the city with the most human trafficking events. Other cases include escort services that bring young women from Detroit and Chicago and force them into prostitution in Hawaii. The major misconception of human trafficking is that it's a choice. We all know no one would choose this. Traffickers recruit through deception. They include falsifying employment advertisements for domestic workers, waitresses, and other low-skilled work, and sometimes More often than not, they promise a better life with wealth. Traffickers include those who are involved in highly sophisticated networks of organized crime, and they may be close to the home of the victim, or even a relative. Some use legitimate business activities to cover their situations, like the case in the Detroit area, where women from Eastern Europe were smuggled into the United States and into Michigan and were threatened, abused, and coerced to work as dancers and going as far as to set their cars on fire. Intimidation and fear, that's what works the best. Even more disturbing are the victims of trafficking are later used to traffic other women and children. They see themselves as helping the home community, facilitators for families looking for some extra income. 80% of the victims are exploited sexually, with 50% of human trafficking cases involving sexual exploitation of children. 2 out of 3 victims are female, and the average age is 13. Right at this very time, 100,000 youth in the United States are being trafficked. Traffickers use classified websites. It's a way of selling youth under the guise of adult escorts. The only trade more lucrative is the illegal drug trade. But as we see more money and more effort spent fighting drugs around the world, we realize that that is far more than what's spent fighting human trafficking. Michigan is a hot spot for trafficking because of our international borders and our waterways. I urge everyone to become involved and to attend our educational events this spring, and we'll be releasing more information about those shortly. Join us in telling others and helping us explain this problem, because the victim may be right next door to you. I want to commend the Women's Commission for taking a lead on this very important issue, and it's important that we realize this is not something that's outside of our borders, but it is right down the street. And with that, I would like to introduce Susie Avery with the Michigan Women's Commission.
Thank you, Senator. We are indeed extremely pleased that the Senator has taken this up as one of her initiatives. This Teresa Flores that you talk about, she's from Birmingham, Michigan. This isn't just a thing that is, you know, in urban communities. This goes around all over. About a year ago, we asked our commissioners to pick 3 initiatives that they would like to work on. And they decided one of them was human trafficking of children in Michigan for an awareness campaign. And since they've done that, we have been amazed at some of the information they've brought up. For instance, one of the people that Senator Emmons talked about, that the Attorney General has prosecuted, his street name was Gruesome, and he had like 14 counts against him, but one of the counts was against an 11-year-old boy. These aren't just little girls, these are boys also. So this has expanded into a very, as the Senator said, a very lucrative line of work for many people. I'd like to say Elizabeth Thompson, who's here, she's our program director, and she's been working a lot with our commissioners on this particular initiative. And when you start hearing some of these stories and you realize how far-flung this is, you realize what a serious challenge this is for all of us. And we really applaud Senator Emmons and thank her so much, because this will help everyone across Michigan, even those in places that you didn't think trafficking existed, like the Upper Peninsula, northern Michigan, southwest Michigan, et cetera. And I think with these new laws that she's looking to put into place, you'll see some people might want to get out of the trade after a while. So we say thank you very much.
That's the goal. That is the goal. Well, we do have folks here with us today who take this very seriously, and folks who volunteer with those organizations that are trying to combat this very issue. And we also have flyers with us. We have a place where if you're interested in this and you want more information about the projects that we have going forward, the legislation, and the Human Trafficking 101, please feel free to fill out the bottom and return to us. This is important. This affects our economy, this affects our families, this affects our communities, and ultimately it weakens our entire state. And we're just grateful that you're here to shine some light on this, because it has been a dirty little secret too long. And it's time that we take it on full bore. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Questions?